Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Welcome to Fusion Mobile e-learning platform. My name is OK Bono, and still our topic, or rather our subject of consideration, is agricultural science. And the topic we're looking at currently is animal improvement. Animal improvement. And under animal improvement, we will be considering the subtopics: meaning of animal improvement, aims of animal improvement, the processes involved in animal improvement, and then we'll end the topic by looking at artificial insemination. What do we mean by animal improvement? As simply as it sounds, animal improvement is simply the processes, the methods, the ways that we can use to upgrade the level or the quality of existing animals or existing breeds of our animals to a level that is desired in order to give better yield, okay, better product yield, better feed conversion, just improvement, taking it from a lower standard to a better or higher standard. That's simply what animal improvement talks about. Now, what are the aims? When we're talking about animal improvement, things like the aims, things like high feed conversion should come to play. High feed conversion, okay. High feed conversion. What do we mean by high feed conversion? It's not, the animal should not just be eating all the food without growing meat. What if you're growing an animal, for instance, let's say you're growing cattle, okay? You want the cattle to look full and fresh. So when the cattle is grazing on grass, the cattle should be able to convert the grass that it's grazing on to good quality meat, okay, that can give you some good money. So that's what we mean by high feed conversion, or you can say high rate, okay, high rate of feed conversion. And then of course we are talking also, by that we're also talking about better yield, okay, better yield. When you're talking about better yield, you're talking about, all the other products, okay? For instance, the poultry must be able to lay eggs for you as often as it's eaten, as often as you're, taking care of it. Then we also talk about things like environmental resistance, okay? Resistance to harsh environmental conditions, okay? Resistance to harsh environmental conditions. We're also talking about resistance to pests, okay? Resistance to pests. And of course, we're also talking about resistance to diseases. You can provide more, okay? You can provide more aims by doing a little bit of thinking here and there. So animal improvement aims at high rate of feed conversion, better yield, okay? Better yield, whether it is the hides and skin that you want, whether it's the egg, whether it's the meat, whether it's the bone. Everything should be at its optimum. And then resistance to harsh environmental conditions, resistance to pests and diseases, and of course also resistance to pests and resistance to diseases. And going forward, we will look at the processes that are involved in animal improvement. Good. So the processes involved in animal improvement are introduction, selection, and breeding. I'm sure that sounds familiar because we have talked about this in a previous topic when we talked about the health, okay, when we talked about animal health, okay. Now we will be looking at them a little bit more. Introduction of exotic breeds. What do we mean by exotic breeds? By exotic, we mean foreign. Okay, so like we said, if you go back through your video, you will remember that we talked about getting better, although what we talked about then was seeds. Although I gave an example earlier about seeds. Yes, I gave an example about the government wanting to import grasses. Yeah, that sounds funny, but it does happen. Government can import grasses. Yes. And this time around, we're talking basically about animals. Yes. Animal health. Okay. Yes, we had talked about this very introduction when we talked about animal health, and then I gave an example using crops. But this time, introduction simply talks about, in terms of animal, simply talks about bringing in exotic breeds. Well, although dog is not a farm animal, okay, but you will agree with me if you have a dog that you have most likely seen some exotic breeds of them, and you really love them, and what do? You just bring them down, or you buy them, okay? And then we have quite a number of them around. Same applies to farm animals, okay? So you introduce exotic breeds, that is foreign breeds, and you bring them down, okay, into the local environment. However, you must ensure that the local environment into which you are introducing these exotic breeds are just cool enough to accommodate them without inflicting them with diseases and all of that, okay. Introduction talks about bringing exotic breeds of farm animals into the local environment. And then we talk about selection of farm animals in order to improve their standard, or in order to improve their quality, is usually based on two broad categories. You have the natural selection, and you have the artificial selection. You have natural and you have artificial selection. Now, talking about natural selection, you just leave these animals to survive in their natural environment. The ones that die are not fit to survive. There's this saying that says survival of the fittest. You must have heard of that, survival of the fittest. So what you're simply doing is you just allow the animals to thrive, okay? If they die, they die. The tough ones survive. And that way, naturally, you have the stronger animals left off, okay, off the head, or you have the stronger animals remaining, while the ones that are less resistant to harsh climatic conditions, less resistant to diseases, less resistant to whatever conditions that may be prevailing in the environment, they all die off, and the tough ones continue to live on. That is natural selection. But there is another way of selection, which is called artificial selection. In artificial selection, the man, that is the farmer, just uses his natural intelligence, okay, in selection, in selecting the animals that he feels are quite fantastic and they can survive. Natural selection, we have mass selection. Mass selection. We have mass selection. We have selection. We have family selection. We have family selection. We have progeny selection. Progeny selection. And then we have pedigree. Pedigree. We have pedigree selection. When you talk about mass selection, you are not particular about whether the animals are related, whether there's a father or mother, or no, you're not particular about that. Okay, so you just do all of these animals are strong, they are tough, they can resist diseases, so let's keep them to ourselves. These are the ones we can push them into the market, and we don't need them to breed, we don't need them to get offsprings for us, because their offsprings are going to be just as weak as they are, so you just do away with them. Of course, you don't slaughter them, and you just sell them off. So talking about family, yes, this family, this is the great grandfather, the great grandmother of these breeds, and they have always been fantastic. They've always been strong, resistant to diseases. So you select them out, and you continue to perpetuate that very lineage or that very ancestry, of farm animals. Then talk about progeny. Progeny, this selection is based on the offsprings. This father this mother gives birth to strong animals. So you keep the animal you keep that mother, and keep on feeding it, till for it to keep on reproducing. And of course, the mothers that are not good enough, you strike them off. Now, pedigree selection is closely related to family selection, because here the selection is based on the ancestry, the mothers, the fathers, the relations of this particular or this very group of animals that have always been fantastic in their quality. So you want to keep them. Then we talk about breeding. Breeding talks about mating. You can't breeding and mating, they are just like they go hand in hand. Breeding and mating go hand in hand. So when we talk about breeding, we're also talking about mating of the farm animals. And in this mating, of course, mating has to do with the use of the reproductive organs of the animals to perpetuate themselves, to reproduce. So in breeding, we are also talking about four basic principles are involved. We have what we call the inbreeding. We have the line breeding. We have the crossbreeding. And then lastly, we have the outbreeding. Breeding, that is, in inbreeding, the farm animals under consideration, they mate within the same family. For instance, you can say, oh, I like this boy. I like this calf. Okay, so you get the you groom the calf, you keep taking good care of it, and because the mother, you feel that, oh, this calf came from this mother, and therefore both of them look good enough, so you get the calf, or you get the offspring of this cow to mate with its mother and then produce an offspring. But mind you, this is not a very good method. It's not a very fantastic method. Yes, although it will, the qualities that you want may keep being there, but it usually leads to the depression of the animals. They are not the vigor. Okay, we call it the breeding vigor of the animals. We call it hybrid vigor. That is the energy, the verve that you want to see in the animal may be lacking. Okay, and mind you, no animal is perfect in itself. So whatever infirmities, okay, we can call it infirmities, we can call it whatever things that may be undesirable in that very family will keep on being perpetuated. In that very family of animals, we keep on being perpetuated. Okay, so sometimes you may not want to go that route. You may want to do something like the crossbreeding. The line breeding talks about now not mating daughter and father or mother and son, but doing it like cousins. In the animal kingdom, there's nothing like incest, so don't get bothered that these animals don't mind. They really don't mind. So the cousins can do it, okay, in the animal kingdom. And just like you have in inbreeding, okay, it's still within the family. So some undesirable qualities that may have continuously been in the family may still be transmitted, okay? But I tell you, all the beautiful qualities will keep on being perpetuated. Then we have the crossbreeding. Crossbreeding and outbreeding, they're about the same. In crossbreeding, yes, they have the same species, but you're not really bothered, okay, about whether it's family, whether it's cousin, whether it's brother, whether it's sister, whether it's father, mother. Okay, those are not your concern. You just bring them and you mate these animals together. Outbreeding. Outbreeding is just about the opposite of inbreeding. You just take that animal out of that environment and you take it somewhere else, okay, or you get an animal completely from another environment entirely, okay, and breed with another animal that is within your local environment or within your farm. Okay, you can take your animal out, you can bring an animal in, okay, to breed, but the environment is completely different. So that's what we talk about. That's what we mean when we talk about outbreeding. Now let's quickly look at the last on our list, which is artificial insemination. Artificial insemination simply means the introduction of semen into the reproductive tract or into the reproductive organ of the female animal. Okay, now remember, if you have followed your biology closely, you will remember that the semen contains the spermatozoa. The spermatozoa is what fertilizes the female egg, which is the ovum. Now, the spermatozoa has to be introduced within a period, okay, that the process should actually prove successful. Now, which period is best to introduce the sperm or the spermatozoa into the female reproductive tract? It is the heat period. So, I mean, the farmer has to be intelligent enough to study his animal to know that, oh, this is actually the right time for me to get this semen or this spermatozoa and put it into the reproductive organ or tract of my female animal so that I can get a desirable result. Usually, if the spermatozoa needs to be introduced at a later date, then it has to be refrigerated, has to be taken from the male animal and done what? Cooled at a very reasonable or very desirable temperature, so that it does not it does not deplete before the introduction. That is because it takes just a few hours for the spermatozoa to deplete and get in fact becomes useless. The sperms will disappear. Okay, so you have to, that's if you're the farmer now, you have to do it in such a way that the spermatozoa is refrigerated at a certain temperature. Okay, you keep it cooled, and then when the animal is on heat, you just take it, you introduce it into its vagina, and there you go. The sperms swim on and fertilize the egg, and a baby animal will be born in time. Now, what are the methods, okay, that we may want to consider in artificial insemination, that is, introducing sperm into the animal, into the reproductive tract of the animal? Artificial insemination has nothing to do with mating, okay? The animals don't mate. There's no body contact. They don't touch. You collect the sperm from the animal, okay, from the male animal, and put it. You are the intermediary, okay? So there's no body contact between the male and the female animal, okay? So that is why it is artificial. Now, what are the things you may likely want to do to be able to collect the semen? There is what we call the electroejaculation, okay? Electroejaculation. That is the use of electricity to collect the sperm from the male animal. There's also what we call the massage, okay? Massage. Yes, that's when you, as the farmer, you assist the male animal in, getting excited to ejaculate. For human beings, we call it masturbation, okay? For animals, you call it massage. You make it mild enough, okay? You call it massage. So you can massage the animal, and then you can also retrieve. You can decide to retrieve the semen from the vagina of the female animal. That is, now in that case, okay, we say retrieve semen from vagina. So in this case, you first of all allow the animal to mate. Probably you want to inseminate, let's say 10 cows, okay? So you allow the male cow, okay, which is the the bull, okay, you allow the male cow to mate with one, and then when that is done, you now collect the sperm from the vagina as it's pouring. You collect as many of it, and then introduce it into the rest 9 cows. Okay, so you see, I mean, that's that way you're actually getting a lot from I mean, you're helping your farm to grow, okay, by actually using just one male to inseminate as many females as possible. So that can be done. So we can also use what we call the artificial vagina. That's about the 4th. Artificial. So you see the animal just goes there and you simulate that vaginal environment, and the animal just thinks, oh, it's the usual thing, and there it goes, and it does it, and the animal doesn't know that, the animal wouldn't know that that artificial vagina, or rather that vagina, or that thing it thinks is a vagina, is actually a collector. So it just collects its sperm, and then you use it to inseminate as many cows as you want to inseminate, and there you go. Your farm animals just go producing. Oh, fine. So we have looked at artificial insemination now, but before we leave, let me quickly say this. It has its disadvantages too. Okay, one of the disadvantages is if the cow, okay, that you are using, or the bull that you're using to inseminate, let's say 10 cows, for instance, if the bull has a disease, these 10 cows would definitely go with those diseases. Now, that is one. Again, the heat period, that is, heat period talks about the fertilization cycle, that is, the heat period of the animal, okay. The heat period of the female animal is a key factor. If you introduce the semen when the animal is not on heat, you have wasted that semen. Good. So now, away from that, furthermore, I would also want to let you know that the farmer must be really intelligent. The farmer must be intelligent. The farmer must be very close to its animals to be able to figure this out. Now, why is this very factor of heat period important? A lot of the times, the male animal that you may want to use, okay, to do this insemination may not be in the country. It may not even be within your environment. It might be that you imported the semen from Obodoyibo, from abroad. You import semen. You know what it means? You buy semen for dollars, okay, to inseminate your cows, and you end up maybe out of 10 that you intended to inseminate with the semen you imported, you find out that only 3 was successful. I mean, that's not a success, okay? So, you see, the farmer must be really intelligent to know exactly when to introduce the semen into the vagina of the female animals so that a good job is done on all of them. Now, one very lovely, advantage you may want to consider about this is that, well, you see, you can have a large head, and with just one input of semen, or with one collection of semen, you can inseminate as many heads as possible. Okay, and for instance, if you want to buy the semen, take for instance you're importing the semen, you don't have to carry your cows to Obodo Ibo to go and inseminate them and bring them back. Semen is, can be packaged. That sounds funny, right? Just like packages, little packages like you have in sachets, and then they just send it down, okay? And you collect it, and nobody would even know that you're carrying something like that, okay, to improve your farm. But imagine that you have to carry one big cow to go and inseminate. The whole world will know that you are carrying cow. Okay, so we have looked at animal improvement. Then we've seen the meaning of animal improvement, bettering the standards of your animals, bettering the quality, the meat production, the conversion ratio, and the feed meat conversion ratio and all of that. And then we looked at the aims, okay? We looked at the processes, introduction, selection, breeding, okay? And then finally, we have looked at artificial insemination. Good. Now, a few questions will be displayed on your screen. Please do well to answer them. And should you have any issues, please feel free to replay the video. Thank you.